Okay, I went to my mail today and I got this Medieval Spinners Tri Nuke, and I couldn't resist opening it up. I didn't wait to open it up with some other ones. I had to see it before I even made any videos about it. And there it is, the Tri Nuke. Fairly new, I think. I have this old Nuke. Now this one I bought it used some time ago, and I reviewed it in a previous video, but the bearing that was in it was really crappy and it didn't get a very good spin time, so it didn't get a very good score. But what I did was I took the bearing from the they gave an there was an extra bearing in the Spin Me Gold that I had, and the Spin Me Gold spins really well, so I took that extra bearing and put it in here, and now this thing gets about 5-minute spin times, which is not too bad for something this size. So I had to get the Tri Nuke when I saw that. I got this today, and this costs, I bought it off their website, it costs $39 or $39.99, and from what I can see so far, it looks like it's quite a bargain. It's pretty big and heavy. Haven't weighed it yet, I don't know quite how heavy it is, but it's pretty heavy. And it's just super easy to use. Like that, either way. Spins very good, your fingers catch on it really nice. Both like to throw it like that or like this, or if you can get in between those things and pull it that way. And I don't have a spin time on it yet. I'm going to test this out in a little bit, see what kind of spin times it gets. But I thought I'd make an individual video on just this one spinner, and I'll go over more details about it later after the testing. Okay, so I just got done testing out my new Tri Nuke here. The more I play with this, the more I like it. It's obviously going to become one of my favorite spinners, but some unusual things happened while I was testing this. I ran it through the testing with 6 spins, and it was getting spin times of around 4.5 minutes roughly, which I thought was a little bit short for something this heavy. It weighs about 100 grams. 105 grams actually. And then when I tested it vertically, it did really poorly. It only got spin times of around 1 minute and 45 seconds or so. Got an average spin time of 3 minutes and 40 seconds, which I thought was really low. And what I think happened is that well, there's 2 things that could have happened here. I'm not exactly sure which. I could have fried the bearing out testing it with the air hose, which can happen sometimes, and then my last 2 spins came up really short. But also when I had it vertically, it was really wobbly, so it might have been because of the wobble that the spin spin time didn't turn out so great. But basically what it came down to is I really didn't like the spin time on this thing, and so I had the Nuke from before, which I think I said before, I had replaced the bearing in it with one of the Spin Me stainless steel bearings, and it increased the spin time quite a bit. So I decided to do the same thing with this one. I got out my Spin Me copper, this one from way back, which is a really great spinner. And it seems to have a really nice bearing. I think it was getting spin times of around 11 minutes. I can't remember exactly, but this was probably the first one I tested that got really long spin times. And it had an extra bearing with it, of course, so I put that bearing in the Tri Nuke, and I decided to test it all over again for the second time. The second time, it got, when held horizontally, it was getting spin times of 5 minutes and 5.5 minutes to 5 minutes and 45 seconds or so. And held vertically, which it did very poorly the first time, it was getting over 7 minutes. So the bearing is much better in it. The Spin Me bearing from Nousts, this company right here, is a much better bearing. It's a all stainless steel bearing. And this one works really nicely now with a new bearing in it. It's better than the one that the factory provided. It's the second time testing. I got an average spin duration of about 6 minutes and 10 seconds. And it got the first time, according to my scoring system, the first time it got a overall score of 6 minutes and 4 seconds. The second time it got an overall score of 8.55. So it increased quite a bit. I gave it a 9.5 on appearance. I think this thing looks really great, and I gave it a 9.5 on feel because this thing feels really great. It's very easy to use. You don't miss it, and there's lots of different places. There's several different places where you can catch your finger in here, and it just works every time, either way. And perceived quality, about a 9.5 also. It's CNC machined. It comes out really nicely. It's made pretty nicely. I put it up against this original Nuke to see the size difference. And I don't know if I'll be able to show you this here. But the Tri Spinner has just a tiny bit less spin circumference than the original Nuke, probably 1 to 2 millimeters less. And I'm not sure what accounts for that, but it's probably just because it's not straight out, right? It's a little bit to the side. But it's very similar otherwise. There are some little differences. And so this got an overall score of 8.55, which is a superior score. I don't very often get scores that high. There's probably been, of all the testing I've done, there's probably been no more than about 4 or 5 spinners that have gotten scores that high. And there've only been 1 or 2 that have gotten in the 9 range. But this thing, I can tell, I've had this out and I've been playing with it quite a bit, and it's clearly going to become one of my favorites. It's already one of my favorites. So I would very much recommend this, but I'm not sure about the bearing they provide with it. I looked on their website and I couldn't find any place where they told you what kind of bearing it has in it. But the bearing made by this company, Nousts, which they do have a website where you can buy these bearings, and I'll try to get you the link for that. You can buy a 10-pack for, I think, about $20. It's much better with that bearing. So that's basically what it comes down to. And I still recommend this one very highly. This is a very long spinning fidget spinner, the Spin Me by Nousts Copper. They have a gold version also, which I just reviewed not long ago, which is just about as good. So that's about it for this one. Tri Nuke, very good.